Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Franchise Preview. This year is going to be different, just one video. Everybody's cumulative rankings are involved in it. Are you excited? You probably are because you're all delusional and you think you're going to win. So without further ado, let's get going with the show. Okay, as you can see, that is a lot different than it used to be because my computer died about 6 weeks ago and I lost everything. So the only thing that I could do is just little no frills, whatever we have now, because I lost all my cool little graphics that I saved for over the years. I'm really sad about it. Not really, it needed an upgrade anyway. So anyway, send out email / text, whatever you want to call it, to all of the GMs to get cumulative rankings. Now, everybody responded except one, and I'm looking at you, Pine Tree Farm, Grave, Lone, Lane, whatever you are. So, anyway, with the 9 that I have, mine and 8 other ones, this is a cumulative list, okay? So, the rankings that you're seeing are not my rankings. I'll tell you what my rankings are as we go, but these are cumulative everybody, all right? So, let's see who the worst, according to everybody else, not necessarily me, is right now. Murderers Row. Yes, we have Murderers Row. He had a cumulative ranking of 8.2, the lowest of all the GMs. The highest ranking that he received was by Murderers Row himself. He gave himself a 7th ranking, so even he does not think he is going to make the playoffs. I personally gave him an 8. I kind of like his Young Yankees, and as we go into the Young Yankees here, I'll talk about it. I believe his sleeper is going to be Greg Bird. I've heard Major League GMs say that this guy someday is going to hit 300 and have 40 home runs. Maybe not this year, but he's on. I mean, he had a phenomenal spring, and everybody loves his swing, especially for Yankee Stadium. My bust for this team is Gary Sanchez. Not necessarily going to be such a bust that, you know, he shouldn't even be your catcher for a fantasy team. I just think the expectations he has are way, way too high. That home run rate is not going to last. I could see him having between 20 and 25 home runs, which is very, very good for a catcher. But I think overall, he would be a bust in the grand scheme of things. All right, next. 5 swords, 5 swords. It's more than 4 and less than 6. 5 Swords is next with a cumulative 7.8 ranking. That is 9th on the list. I personally have him 10. And I know that's harsh, especially looking at his roster. But I feel like there's a couple of guys that are going to fizzle out. And I think he has a couple of strong tops, like a couple of strong hitters, a couple of strong pitchers. But then after that, I feel like it really, really fades. So I have him ranked at the number 10 slot. Sleeper for him is definitely going to be freakity frack. I forgot who it was that fast. And now I'm just wasting time, and I really don't want to. Oh, it's Keuchel. Dallas Keuchel. Because he, and it has nothing to do with last night, because yes, I know he pitched well last night. He has his velocity back, and from all accounts, from everybody, he was hurt last year and just didn't tell anybody. So that's why he pitched so poorly. So I think he could be a Cy Young candidate again. And the bust is going to be Adrian Gonzalez. He is too old. He's just too old, and I think the way he's put together, especially playing National League where he can't DH, his body's going to break down and is going to be quick. Next. Okay, just a minor edit. I was reading the wrong numbers for the previous two GMs. Murderers Row is actually at a 9.3 average, and Five Swords is at a 9.2 average. Everything else was correct. I just read the wrong averages. I was looking at them. I was like, they're too low. Anyway, next. It's the Bear Bashers. Okay, next is Bear Bashers. Now, please explain to me how last year I finished in 9th place, and now this year, you jerkies basically, I don't know, there's some of you who gave me rankings at 9. So you really don't think my team's better than last year? Seriously? I mean, come on. I got a top 5 pitcher. I got the guy that hit the most home runs over the last 18 months. And I've got a couple of young players in Peraza and Bregman for an entire season. I got to be better than I was last year. I mean, if you don't want me in the playoffs, I understand. But you can't put me at 9. Anyway, the cumulative ranking is 7.8, which doesn't sound that bad, but it's still the 8th worst ranking. My sleeper is Justin Turner. He is Josh Donaldson with a big red beard if he stays on the field. That's what he's going to be. If he actually can play a whole season, the guy is freaking ridiculous. My bust is probably Todd Frazier. I probably shouldn't have traded for him. He looks old and awful in the spring, and I might really regret having him on my team because I'm not going to drop him. So, all right, next. You know your zips is on my list. You know your
Next we've got the Zips with a cumulative ranking of 6.8.
Now we actually had two GMs, Team Jobu and Ben's Champions, ranking Zips as high as number 5, while we had Murderers Row and myself ranking him at number 9. So, me personally, I feel like I know I always cut this guy short or sell this guy short, however you want to say it, because 3 of the last 5 years he has been in the championship race. He's been, 3 or 5 years he's been there, but I don't like. I look at the team and there's just a lot of things that I just don't like. I think there's a lot of question marks. And I'm not that big on it, but he's shown a track record of success, and you can't beat that. Sleeper for him is Lance McCullers. He looks really, really good, and all he has to do is pitch a whole season, and if he can do that, yes, he is a legit ace. The bust for Bob, again, I can't freaking remember. I'm doing awful. Is Zach Greinke. His velo is down, and losing 4 or 5 mile an hour off your fastball is not good for him, especially where he's pitching. So Greinke is the bust. So now, since Bob is the number 7 at 6.8, that means the rest of the league, this is their consensus playoff bracket. Let's go. Ben's Champions from 2013. Yes, Ben's Champions, the most polarizing team on this list. A cumulative ranking of 5.3. But Ben's Champions himself gave him the highest ranking at number 2, while Five Swords gave him the lowest ranking at number 8. So you can see the differential there in the rankings. Again, me personally, I have him at 7, just missing the playoffs again because I just can't get past his pitching. And I know he thinks he can address that as the season progresses, but it's not always that easy, as you can see the last 3 years when he did not make the playoffs. Anyway, I have the sleeper for Ben. It's kind of funny because the sleeper and bust are kind of together here. The sleeper for Ben's actually Billy Hamilton, which I know might say, why is that a sleeper? Because he steals all these bases. But I think he's going to actually be very successful because of the way the lineup is constructed, because Peraza is behind him. So I think that his, runs scored and everything else is going to go higher, batting the number 1 slot. Now, the bust, I think, could actually be a huge bust, and that's D. Gordon. I don't see anybody who thinks that D. Gordon's ever going to have the year that he had a couple of years ago. And I'm not saying it's because of the PEDs, but huge differential since the PEDs in the last 18 months. So, all right. So, next. Pine Tree Lane. Next, we have Pine Tree Lane with a cumulative ranking of 5.3. The highest ranking he received was actually from Five Swords with a number 3 ranking, and the lowest ranking he received, it's dual. It's Team Jobu and Murderers Row ranked him at number 6. So everybody has him in the playoffs. I have for his sleeper Addison Russell. If he's going to bat higher in that Cubs lineup, that is going to be really good, and I think he could have his first year like 25 home runs. I think he's legit. So that's my sleeper. But you know what? I'm actually going to go with co-sleepers because there's another guy on this team that nobody's talking about, and I think they should, and that's Matt Harvey. If he's throwing 97 miles an hour in the spring, and he was, he can be the Matt Harvey of old. So I have to come up with a bust. And I'm going to go with Michael Brantley because I don't think that he is going to be the MVP caliber player he was. I don't think he's ever going to get back to that. I think he can be pretty good, but I think if you're looking at him as, oh, Brantley's playing again, he's going to be an MVP once again. I don't think so. I think he'll be a pretty good player, maybe even an all-star on the low end, but I don't think he'll be what he was before the injury. Next, Team Jobu. Next is Team Jobu with a 4.4 cumulative ranking. Murderers Row actually had him ranked the highest at number 2, while Zips had him ranked at number 8. Wow. Zips does not like his Jobu. Not at all. Anyway, obviously this is the defending championship team. I mean, he's got a lot of age, so it always goes around that. I know we say the same thing every year, but somehow, some way, he seems to find a way. So I do like him. I have him at my number 2 slot, actually. I know, that's probably too high because some of those guys are going to get hurt now that I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Team Jobu, and now they're all going to get hurt. So I put the whammy on them, sorry. But the sleeper for Torres, or for Team Jobu, try not to say names here. Sleeper for Team Jobu is Ryu because he had a 3.17 career ERA before being hurt. I don't think people realize he was that good. So I'm going with Ryu as the sleeper, and I actually have co-busts here. I have Jason Hayward. I don't think he's ever going to be anything of what he was. I think they have his swing so messed up and him messed up here mentally that I don't think he's ever going to be fantasy relevant again. And Hernan Perez, I think he's going to struggle to stay on the field because of all the additions the Brewers have made. So I think he'll be okay when he plays. I just don't think he's going to play enough to be okay. Like that. All right, next. Next we have with a cumulative ranking of 4.0. Highest rankings are from Alaska Glaciers and Zips. They give him a number 2 ranking. The lowest ranking, once again, this guy is just harsh on everybody. Five Swords gives Team V a number 7. That's right. Five Swords thinks that the commish is not making the playoffs. What do you think about that? I did not get sleepers and busts. So instead of having you wait, I'm going to put this on pause. Okay, also, before I do the sleepers and busts for him, I had him ranked at number 5. I'm not in love with his pitching staff. And I think, I understand his strategy, but it has to be a little bit better in order to convert that strategy of not having a lot of pitchers. The sleeper is Real Muto. I think he is a top 3 or 4 catcher when it's all said and done. He does a lot of things that catchers don't necessarily do. And the bust, I'm going to go with Quintana because I think the White Sox are going to be really, really bad. So obviously he's not going to have a great win-loss record. And I know it's easy to say he's going to get traded, but if he doesn't trade it until the deadline, then he's been with the White Sox for a really long time. And then he's going to go somewhere else and then try to pitch well with a lot of pressure on him from being the trade guy. I'm not sold on Quintana, so I think Quintana is my bust for him. Next, Globo Gym. Okay, now these last two are definitely the consensus top 2. There's a big drop off in rankings between the top 2 and then the rest. Globo Gym, a 2.0 cumulative ranking. There's 4 GMs that have him as the number 1 team. The lowest ranking was Murderers Row, who gave him a number 4 ranking. So everybody has him between 1 and 4. I have him at 3. Yeah, I mean, he's really good. I mean, obviously, there always seems to be something weird about this team that it doesn't perform exactly the way you think it's going to. So we'll find out what happens as the season progresses. My sleeper for Globo Gym, and this one's easy, is Yu Darvish. Do you know that Yu Darvish has the highest K per 9 of any starter in the history of the universe? It's a true thing. It's like 11.5 or 11.6 of any starter who's pitched 100 innings. He has the highest K rate. Nobody really talks about him much, I guess because he's coming off the injury, but, I mean, dude, the guy's a stud. I don't know what else you need. And for me, the bust is easy because it's the same guy I talk about forever. It's Javier Baez. Please tell me what he's done. I don't understand. I don't get it. Yes, he's a fantastic defender, but he's a very average hitter. It's just that simple. Dude doesn't walk, and you get on top of that, he's not going to play a lot. And if he does play, I don't care, Ben's Champions, if he's in the lineup, if he's batting 9th. I don't care. You're batting 9th in a National League lineup. Think about that. Think about that. My gosh. Jeez. All right. What do we have next? Okay, I guess that's it. Next. Alaska Glaciers. So, the number 1 cumulative ranking of a 1.8 is Alaska Glaciers. As, yes, the consensus top 2 GMs have never won a playoff matchup in a league that's been around for 14 or 15 years or whatever it is. Anyway, and I'm at fault for this too, because you would think that you would need a bullpen to be the number 1 team. And I'll just go right into my bust with this because I think that's where it kind of goes down to. I don't really have a player that is a bust for Alaska Glaciers. It's more of a strategy. I think you can punt a category. I don't think you can punt multiple categories. And by having just 1.5 closers, okay, 2 closers, I guess. Iglesias is technically a closer. But you're basically giving whoever you're playing a 2-0 head start lead, because they're probably going to get a hold. You don't have a holds guy. So I that's my bust with this team, is the strategy. The sleeper, of course, escapes my freaking mind. My goodness. Oh, there it is. It's Byron Buxton. Because if he's going to bat number 3 in this lineup, I don't really care who you are. If you're batting number 3 in any lineup, that is a great place to hit. You should have pretty good fantasy numbers. So I'm going with Buxton as a sleeper. But overall, I do think this team is very top-heavy, especially in the pitching department. So I do definitely like it a lot. And that's why I'm giving it the number 1 ranking. So I guess that's it. It's over. The end of the previews. I mean, I have this list right here. I won't get rid of it. If anybody wants it, I will text them this list. It's very chicken scratchy of everybody's rankings because I didn't really go through it in the video because I was trying to avoid having a 30-minute video, but I still feel like it's going to be like too long anyway. But anyway, I think that's it. Good luck to everybody unless you're playing me. And that's it. The end. What are you doing here? Jason, I gotta be in your video. I have to be in the video. You cannot have a fantasy baseball video without me. Sorry. Not happening. People don't leave me freaking alone.